بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين الحمد لله. We begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we pray that Allah make this lesson the reason where our sins are forgiven, our prayers are answered, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah open for us doors of understanding and tawfiq, that we are able to observe in His commandments, refrain from His prohibitions, internally and externally. And may Allah protect us from all difficulties, trials and tribulations in dunya and akhirah, and bless us with husnul khatimah. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. So inshallah we will continue from our lesson in Muqaddimah Hadramiyyah. Before this, sometimes I just do some voice recording on speaker. Today we have on video. So it has been some changes in the past few weeks. So inshallah ta'ala, in our last lesson we have entered into the chapter of Janazah. So the author began by speaking about the importance of remembering death. So in our last lesson we spoke about the benefits of remembering death, and that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a hadith he mentioned innal quluba tasda, yani the hearts of human beings, they rust, just like how iron rust, kama yasda'ul hadid. So the Sahaba asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wama jila'uha ya Rasulullah, how are we able to cleanse our hearts from this rustiness? So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he mentioned, aksiru bi dhikril maut, aw kama qala sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yani to remember death a lot. So it is within our prophetic tradition, the importance of remembering death a lot. So it is not only about remembering death, but remembering death a lot. Al-ikthar in Arabic, we call it al-ikthar bi dhikril maut. So the awliya salihin, our ulama, they always remember death every day. When we wake up from our sleep, our Prophet sometimes dua, alhamdulillahi alladhi ahyana ba'dama amatana wa ilayhi nushur. This is a remembrance of death, that we are blessed by Allah. All praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has given us life after death. So life is a ni'mah. And death can come at any time. Death can come at any time, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned فَيُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. When death comes, nothing can postpone death, and Allah will inform human beings what they have done in their life. So death is certainly a scary thing for all of us. We do not know what is going to be our situation, what is going to be our iman, what is going to be our amal, how are we able to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah reckon us Yawm al-Qiyamah. What is the situation of our prayers, what is the situation of our remembrance of Allah. So all these questions are questions for a person who possesses intelligence, because the Prophet mentioned al-kayyisu man dana nafsa wa amina lima ba'da al-maut. An intelligent person is a person who always do muhasabah. Muhasabah, dana nafsa wa amila lima ba'da al-maut. Always he reminded himself that one day I will return to Allah, one day I return to Allah, one day I will return to Allah. What is my situation? How is my iman? How is my prayers? How is my Quran? How is my dhikr? Today we live in a time where people are obsessed with the dunya. Today people ask the questions, how is my savings? How is my house? How is my vehicle? But they forget about the ultimate purpose. How is our iman? Iman is our ultimate purpose. How is our prayers? How is our khushu'? How is our salawat? How is our dhikrullah? Not many people who question themselves and worry about this, because these are the things that will make a person close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So our ulama in books of fiqh, when it comes to the chapter of janazah, they take this as a means for them to speak about the importance of remembering death. So this is what we find in Muqaddimah Hadramiyyah. Likewise you will find in Umdah, in Minhaj, always they will take this opportunity. And in Islam also it is encouraged that we visit the graves. Visiting any of the graves is a prophetic and sunnah. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam visited the graves and encouraged us to visit the graves. And one of the things when visiting any graves, always we take this visiting of graves as a lesson for us, that our friends have passed away, our family members have passed away, those who came before us have passed away, those who are within our same age also passed away. One day we will return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let us enter into the chapter that we were in. So we have come into the part where the author mentioned about at the point of death, when death comes, and he said وَتُنْزَعُ ثِيَابُ مَوْتِهِ, and if a person has passed away, it is a sunnah that we remove the clothes that he or she was wearing when he or she passed away. وَيُسْتَرُ بِثَوْبٍ خَفِيفٍ, and it is a sunnah that we make them wear, the deceased wear something that is light, a clothing that is light, because later on we are going to perform the bathing. We are going to perform the bathing. So wearing thick clothes will not help in bathing. So usually they are made to wear clothes that are light. وَيُوضَعُ عَلَى بَطْنِهِ شَيْءٌ ثَقِيلٌ. And last week we also mentioned about this, that the rationale behind putting something that is heavy on the stomach is because usually the dead body, the stomach bloat. So to prevent this bloating, we put something that is heavy on the stomach. وَيُسْتَقْبَلُ بِهِ الْقِبْلَةِ, and we make the deceased face the qibla, the feet facing the qibla. And then when we put something below him like a pillow, so that the face also face the qibla. وَيَتَوَلَّى جَمِيعَ ذَلِكَ أَرْفَعُ مَحَارِمِهِ. So the author mentioned the best person to do all this, to remove the shirt, to put something heavy on the stomach, to make the deceased face the qibla. Who is the best person to do all these things? أَرْفَعُ مَحَارِمِهِ. أَرْفَقُ مَحَارِمِهِ, the one of the mahram. Mahram is basically someone who has blood ties, and the one who is the most loved, to the deceased. This is the person who perform all these things. Usually people who love the deceased the most, they will do it properly. So this is the best person to do. وَيُدَعَى لَهُ وَيُبَادَرُ بِبَرَاءَةِ ذِمَّتِهِ. Then it is a sunnah to make dua for the deceased. Even the deceased pass away, we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahumma ighfir lahu warhamhu wa'afihi wa'afu anhu. The prophetic dua, وَنَقِّنِي مِنَ الذُّنُوبِ كَمَا يُنَقَّ الثَّوْبُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الدَّنَسِ. Oh Allah, cleanse him from all sins, just like how a white cloth is cleansed from dirt. Oh Allah, forgive him, bless him with Jannah and all these things. It is a sunnah that we make a lot of dua, and especially from your children, because we have specific hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that one of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed the deceased with rewards is dua from waladin salih. As our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, إِذَا مَاتَ ibnu Adam inqata amaluhu illa min thalas. When the children of Adam pass away, every deed will be cut off except for three things. One of the things the Prophet mentioned, waladun salihun yad'u lah, that a pious son who makes dua for his family members. Nowadays we have people who are confused about this. You have people, for example, their parents pass away, they do not make any dua. They do not make any dua. This is happening even in our society. They thought that this is an innovation, that we should not make dua for the deceased, that just by performing janazah prayers it is enough. Now this is ignorance, and the person who does this will lose a lot of things, especially the deceased. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam encourage children to make dua for parents. The Quran speaks about making dua for the deceased generally. Allah mentioned in the Quran, رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لَنَا وَلِإِخْوَانِنَا الَّذِينَ سَبَقُونَا بِالْإِيمَانِ وَلَا تَجْعَلْ فِي قُلُوبِنَا غِلًّا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Allah mentioned رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لَنَا وَلِإِخْوَانِنَا الَّذِينَ سَبَقُونَا بِالْإِيمَانِ. We ask Allah for forgiveness, and we also ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive إِخْوَانِنَا الَّذِينَ سَبَقُونَا بِالْإِيمَانِ, our brothers and sisters, our believing brothers and sisters who have passed away. And this is ajib, and nowadays people say that you should not make dua for the person who has passed away, because even if you make any dua, it will not be of benefit. Then how about in the Quran? The Quran speaks about making dua for the deceased. So this is the situation sometimes we are living. All these confusions are happening. So that is why it is very important for us to free ourselves from this kind of ignorance. Because at the end of the day, it will make us the one who lose out. So as a Muslim, it is a sunnah for us to make dua for those who are living and for those who have passed away. Correct or not? Sunnah for us to make dua for the living and those who has passed away. If this is general dua, what about dua for our own parents and relatives? What about dua for our parents and relatives? So here the author mentioned وَيُدْعَى لَهُ وَيُبَادَرُ بِبَرَاءَةِ ذِمَّتِهِ. Bara'at dhimma meaning if there is any loans, then the inheritors should pay them. So for example, if the deceased has a loan that he has not paid, so now as the inheritor or the heir, that we fulfill the responsibilities of the deceased that has not been done before he passed away. So if the deceased, for example, has loans to a particular person, for example, he has a loan, for example, $500. This is the meaning of Bara'at dhimma. Bara'at dhimma meaning we are lifting the responsibility out from his shoulders by paying. Either from his wealth that he left, or from the wealth of the inheritors themselves. So there are people, for example, they loan Fulan bin Fulan $500, and then they have not paid the zakah, for example. This loan to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have not paid the fidya for fasting. They have not performed hajj when they have the capacity to do so, when they were alive. Then as inheritors, we have to set aside money for hajj, money to pay the zakah, money for loans, and we have loans to other people. So after all these things, then only we split the money based on fara'id. So fara'id only comes after Bara'at dhimma. This is what the author is saying. The first thing is to free the deceased from all forms of loans, whether we are speaking about loan of Allah or loan from human beings. So loans there are two types, loans of Allah and loans of human beings. Naam. Then he mentioned wa infadi wasiyatihi, and then comes the will. We ask this question, does the deceased has a will? If he has a will, we have to look at the nature of the will. If the will is within 1/3 of the inheritance, 1/3, and the will is not directed to the inheritors, then we have to fulfill the will of the deceased. So for example, he wrote a will that part of the money should be given to this masjid, part of the money should be given to Fulan bin Fulan, part of the money should be given to the orphans, for example. So the inheritors carry out the will based on what the deceased has written. وَيُسْتَحَبُّ الْإِعْلَامِ بِمَوْتِهِ لِلصَّلَاةِ. It is a sunnah to inform others about the death. Like nowadays we have WhatsApp groups. Nowadays we have the social media. It's easier to inform people. Nowadays, for example, you have someone who passed away in the end of the world. The message can be passed immediately. Someone from the other end of the world can know that Fulan bin Fulan passed away. Fulan bin Fulan passed away. So nowadays, mashallah, all this information pass very fast. Last time is different. Last time without any social media, without any forms of communication that we have today. Sometimes the news of a person who passed away in Mecca reach this part of the world after 2 months. After 2 months we found out that Fulan bin Fulan passed away. But nowadays situation is very different. So it is a sunnah that we pass the message so that people can make dua, people can perform janazah prayers, ra'ib, even if they are not in the country, they can start to perform janazah prayers for the deceased, can make dua for the deceased after every prayers, for example. Then the author mentioned faslun rasluhu wa takfinuhu wa salatu alayhi. Now we are going to speak about bathing, shrouding and prayers for the deceased. So the author mentioned rasluhu, bathing, takfinuhu, shrouding, wa salatu alayhi, performing the prayers for the deceased, wa dafnuhu, burying him. 4 things: washing or bathing, shrouding, prayers, burying. Furudu kifayatin. All this 4 is a communal obligation. It is a communal obligation. What is a communal obligation? It is an obligation that is obligatory upon a community. If anyone within that community performs this obligation, the sin is lifted from everybody. This is the meaning of fardu kifaya. So fardu ain is the opposite. This obligation is directed to every individual. But when it comes to fardu kifaya, it is directed to a community. So for example, Singapore, we are one community. If a person passes away in Singapore, then there must be people who bathe this deceased, perform the prayers upon him, shrouding him, burying him. If nobody does it, every single individual mukallaf in Singapore will bear the sin. Every single individual who is mukallaf will bear the sin. But normally in our country, alhamdulillah, we have not heard about any case that a person passed away and nobody bury him. We have not heard any in this country, alhamdulillah. Usually there will be people who will help take any debt responsibility. Now, even if a person pass away in a state of poverty, there will be any people and funds to to support and to perform all these obligations. وَأَقَلُّ غُسْلِ تَعْمِيمُ بَدَنِهِ. Now the author speaks about bathing the deceased. So the minimum is ta'mimu badan. The meaning of ta'mim is to encompass. Just like when we bathe the obligatory bath, we make sure that water reaches all parts of the body. So likewise, when we are bathing the deceased, we make sure that water reaches every part of the body, of the deceased. And this is done ba'da izalatin najasa, after we have removed all forms of filth. After we have removed all forms of filth. Why? Because if we have not removed the filth, the water that washes that part of the body is not valid. It's not valid. Why? Because water, when it mixes with najis, it is mutanajis. So here we have to make sure that ma al-mutlaq. In chapter of Tahara, we spoke about water that is mutlaq, yani water that is pure and can purify. So we also have to make sure, when we are bathing the deceased, we have to make sure that we use ma al-mutlaq. So that is why we have to make sure that there is no form of najis on the body. So usually we remove all forms of dirt, all forms of najis, then only we start to bathe him. But of course, when it comes into the sunnah, which is going to be mentioned later, that we wash the body with sidr, or nowadays we use soap. So we make sure that we wash the body first, and then only we use pure water. So this is the first thing. وَيُسَنُّ فِي قَمِيص. It is a sunnah when we bathe the deceased that we make the deceased wear qamis. Qamis, what is meant by qamis, it's a long dress. It is a long dress that cover the awrah. That cover the awrah. And it has to be khafif. It has to be light, not a thick form of qamis, because any water cannot penetrate easily. So we have to use a cloth that is easily penetrated by water. Fi khalwatin. It is a sunnah to do it in khalwa. Khalwa here meaning in a place that is secluded. It is not a sunnah to bathe the deceased in front of 50 people, for example. This is not a sunnah. So the sunnah is just the people who are responsible for bathing, they are the ones who are present. Other than them, many should wait outside. So it has to be in a secluded area. Tahta saqfin, and the area must be closed. Saqf. And it is a sunnah that the deceased is placed on a law, yani like we say like a platform. It is a sunnah that the deceased, we put the deceased on a platform and not on the floor. Put the deceased on the platform, because this is easier for the person to bathe the deceased. So nowadays, janaza companies they will have this long metallic bed where they have a hole at the end, and then they will put a hose. So they tilt it. So when they bathe the deceased, so the water that flows will exit through this hose and to the drainage in the toilet. So nowadays it is easier to use this kind of things. وَيَعَبْدُ الْغَاسِلُ وَمَنْ مَعَهُ بَصَرَهُ إِلَّا لِحَاجَةٍ. Now, it is wajib upon the person who is performing the bathing to lower the gaze. What is the meaning of lower the gaze? It is not permissible to look at the aura of the deceased. To look up the aura of the deceased. This is haram for the person who does the bathing. So that is why we must cover the deceased with the cloth. So when it comes to the aura, it is not any permissible to look any of the aura. And when it comes to the aura, of course, when it comes to the woman, the whole body except the face and the hands. When it comes to the man, whatever is between the navel and the knee. And only men can bathe man, woman can bathe man unless if they are mahram. The best man bathe man, woman bathe woman. So when it comes to the aura, when it comes to aura between woman and woman is between the navel and the knee. So all these things have to be observed. We have to make sure as though that the deceased is still alive. And if the deceased is still alive, certainly he or she will not be happy for us to see them in a state of nakedness. So it is not permissible to bathe them in a state of nakedness. So wajib to lower the gaze. Wa masu batnihi bi quwwatin. It is a sunnah before we start the bathing that we do the massage. A massage of the stomach to remove all the filth from the body. This is done before bathing. This is done before bathing. So the author mentioned wa masu batnihi bi quwwatin liyukhrija ma fihi ba'da ijlasihi. So there is a way on how to do it. The way is to make the deceased sit down. Sit down tilted. Sit down tilted. And then massage is done on the stomach. And this is the best way to remove the filth from the deceased. The legs is placed up. So this is how we remove the filth from the deceased. So one person cannot do this. Usually there will be people who will be assisting in this. Because to carry any disease requires one person at the back. And then the person who does the massage. And then another person who pours water. Because the moment the filth comes out from the private parts, water we have to stand by pouring water. So that the smell will not can go away. So he mentioned ba'da idlasihi ma'ilan meaning incline. So the deceased is made to sit, but not sitting down and sort of sitting down, but it is inclined. It is a bit inclined towards lying. Ma'afuhi majmaratin bitib. It is a sunnah to do the majmara. Majmara nowadays what we call it? We call it this bukhur. Bukhur. Basically the idea is to deter the smell. How are we able to deter the smell? Nowadays it's not only bukhur. There are so many things that are out there. There is this machine where the aromatherapy machine that you can make the whole room smell having a fragrant smell by putting the aromatherapy oils. And some people use this. Some people use the traditional way of bukhur. But certainly using bukhur cuts off the smell. It is one of the strong ways to cut off the smell. So the idea is that the smell is not present. The foul smell. So to do this we burn the majmara. Or we put something that is good smelling in the room. Wa kasratu sabbin wa raslu sawatayhi. Kasratu sab pouring a lot of water. Again this is to deter the smell. Because while we are performing the bathing, many a times the filth will come out from the private parts. And especially when we rub the stomach. So there must be one person who is assigned just to pour water. One person who is assigned to pour water. So nowadays they use tap water. They on the tap, and this person just hold the hose. So one person hold the hose, one person do the rubbing, the other person carry the disease making the body incline. Tamam. So this is the first thing. And then we begin by washing the sawatay. Sawatay basically the two private parts. Just like when we bathe the obligatory bath, we start by washing the private parts. And for the person who is doing the washing, the bathing, it is wajib upon him to use khirqah. The author mentioned here, one najasatu bi khirqatin. Nowadays people use the rubber gloves. That is the best. Last time what they used to do is they will put a cloth on their hands, khirqa. Nowadays people don't do that anymore. Nowadays you can get all these rubber gloves and you can buy from the shops. This is what they are using. It is not permissible for the person who is doing the bathing to touch the private parts of the deceased with bare hands. It is not permissible. And using gloves is wajib, or cloth or anything. The thing here is the skin to skin and he cannot touch the private parts. Now this is what the author is saying. What najasatu bi khirqatin. So when the person who is doing the bathing wants to wash the private parts, he uses his hands that is covered with gloves or cloth, and wash the private parts, and make sure that the water reaches all parts of the private parts. And this is done after the filth has been removed. Summa akhdu ukhra liyusawwikahu biha. And then we take another small pieces of cloth to do siwak. To do siwak meaning to clean the teeth. To clean the teeth. This can be done using cloth. To make sure that the teeth of the deceased is cleansed. وَيُخْرِجُ مَا فِي أَنْفِهِ ثُمَّ وَضَّأَهُ. And likewise the nostrils. We take a cloth like a cotton bud, and we remove the dirt on the nose. So we remove the dirt in the nose, and also the dirt that is found in the mouth. So after this is done, we have washed the private parts. We have remove the dirt from the body. Then we do wudu. Then we make ablution for the deceased. Now, so in fiqh we say that the intention for bathing is not compulsory. Intention for bathing is not compulsory, but intention for wudu is wajib. Intention for wudu is wajib. Meaning if a person who does the bathing does not intend anything, he straight away bathe the deceased, the bathing is valid. The bathing is valid. But when it comes to wudu, of course wudu requires intention. So the person who does the wudu for the deceased has to intend wudu for the deceased. Wudu for the deceased. This is the meaning of summa wadda'ahu. So the wudu is the same. We wash the face 3 times. We wash the hands 3 times. We wipe the whole head, and then we wash the feet. After we perform the wudu, then we begin the bathing. So now the author mentions summa ghasala ra'sahu. So the first thing that we begin is the head. Just like we bathe the obligatory bath. When we bathe the obligatory bath, we start with our private parts. Then we take wudu. Correct or not? This is the same sequence. Wash the private parts first, then wudu. Not wudu, then wash private parts. Wash private parts first, then wudu. After wudu, then we begin by washing the upper body, the head. Ra'sahu summa lihyatahu bisidri. Now, this is important for us to understand what the author is speaking about. The author is speaking about cleansing the disease. So now, not straight away bathe. Now he is speaking about the sunnah. He's speaking about sunnah because the obligation he mentioned ta'mimul badan. That is the obligation. Ta'mimul badan, we use ma'ul mutlaq and we wash the disease. That is the minimum obligation. But now the author is speaking about the sunnah. It is not a sunnah that you straight away you bathe the disease with ma'ul mutlaq. The sunnah is to use sidr. Last time in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they bathe using sidr. They bathe using sidr. Sidr is a kind of plant that is used for bathing, and it has fragrance and smell. It serves like soap. Nowadays we use soap and shampoo. So last time the Arabs they use sidr. And one thing good about the sidr it can remove any foul smell. It can remove foul smell. So now even today we say it is a sunnah. And if you can find any sidr, you can buy any in the markets. That is the sunnah. But what about if we cannot find sidr? What about if you cannot find sidr? What I heard in Singapore, a lot of people actually what they do is they use soap. What they use basically bathing soap. They use the liquid bath soap. This is permissible. this is any also any a sunnah, yani in replace any of sidr, in replace of sidr, because the wisdom any behind using any sidr any is to cleanse any the body of the deceased. So now the bathing has not started. Why? Because any if you use any sidr, this is not bathing. Correct or not? Why? Because this is not ma mutlaq. Yani you use any sidr any is not any mutlaq. And the reason any we use any sidr is basically to cleanse any the body of the deceased. So once any we start with sidr, then after that any we use pure water to remove the sidr. We use any pure water any to remove the sidr. This is what the author will mention. So now when we go back into the text, he says, "Summa rasala ra'sahu, summa lihyatahu bisidri, summa rasala ma aqbala minhu al-ayman, summa al-aysar." So we bathe the after the head, the beard, then the right side of the body, left side any of the body. Summa ma adbara al-ayman, summa al-aysar, then the back part, right side, left side. So when comes into bathing, always we bathe right side first, then left side. This is any the sunnah. Type. After we use any the sidr. So now imagine you have used a sidr. What is the situation any of the deceased now? The deceased, the body any is covered any sidr now. So what you need to do? This he mentioned. Summa azalahu. Summa azalahu. Yani we use any water to remove the sidr. So this is the second sab. So the first sab yani we use any sidr. The second sab mean what is the meaning of sab? And in English, and we call it what? What you call it? This splashing. The second and splash to remove any the sidr. This is any the second one. Summa sabba al-ma al-barid al-khalis. Then yani we use pure water. Al-ma al-barid. Sunnah yani to make the water a bit cold. Yani this is any this is in the best any for the dead body, for the deceased. Al-khalis. Al-khalis here goes back into mutlaq. Yani we use water that is mutlaq. So we have to pay attention here. Number one, yani we use sidr. Number two, we use water to remove the sidr from the body of the deceased. Then only we use ma'ul mutlaq. Can you see the sequence? Then only yani we use any ma'ul mutlaq. Why any we don't use any ma'ul mutlaq any doing the second? Because second any is just to remove the sidr. But the third one is the important one. The third one yani is the bathing. Tamam. The third one is the one and use any bathing. And then it is a sunnah to put a bit any of camphor, kafur. Type. Some of you and you might be asking, but now you are making the water mustamal. If you add kafur yani is camphor. So now it is a sunnah to add any camphor. What is the wisdom any behind camphor? Because camphor will remove insects any from nearing any to the body, meaning it can make any the body sustain longer. This is any the wisdom any of camphor. But now if a person any asks, now are you not making any the water mustamal by putting camphor? Because in the chapter of water we mentioned that if something that is pure is mixed any with water that is a little, what is the condition? The condition and if it changes any the properties any of the water. That is why the author mentioned qalil kafu. Qalil in a sense that it does not change the characteristics any of the water. So now the water is still mutlaq. The water any is still mutlaq. Why? Because this is qalil. But we should not any be putting a lot of camphor until the whole water any takes any the color of camphor. Now khalas, and you have to use any pure water any again. You have to use water to remove the camphor, and then you have to use any pure water again. So that is why the author any mentioned yani to use any the pure water from on top any of the body ila qadamihi, min faraqihi ila qadamihi, yani from on top any of the body to the feet, meaning we should use any the water to cover all parts any of the body, all parts any of the body. And we do this any how many times? Salasan, 3 times. So one set, head, right side, left side, back, right side, left side. This is considered to be one set. And we repeat any how many times? We repeat any for 3 times. Summa yunashifuhu. Then only khalas, any we have completed the bathing. So altogether any how many? Number 1, any we have the sidr. Number 2, we have the water to remove any of the sidr, followed any by 3 times of washing. So altogether 5. It is permissible to add more 7 and 9. That is any permissible. Summa yunashifuhu. Then after that, any do tanshif. Tanshif any basically to dry up any the body using a towel. Bisawbin. Here the author mentioned any with a cloth. Ba'da i'adati talyinihi. After yani we have do the talyin. Talyin any is we make any the joints any soft. By making sure any that the joint any does not freeze up. The joints any does not freeze up, because all these things any has to be done occasionally, because dead body, if we do not any do this what you call it, this stretching any of the joints any will freeze. So that is why it is a sunnah to put some ointment any at the joints, and occasionally any we do talyin, yani we stretch the joints any of the deceased so that any it does not any freeze up. Then the author any mentioned wa yukrahu akhdhu sha'rihi wa dhufrihi. It is makruh yani to take any the hair of the deceased and the nails any of the deceased. So if that happens any when we are washing, the hair yani should put inside the kafan. The hair, the remnants any of the body must any be placed any inside any the kafan. It is makruh that we throw it away. Wal awla bi ghasli rajuli arijal. Yani when comes any to men, the best any are men. They need to do the bathing. Likewise, any when comes any to women, the best any is to bathe them, woman, yani not men. Now, although yani there are situations any that husband any can bathe the wife, and likewise the mahram can also any bathe, but here yani the author any speaking any about the best. What is any the best practice? The best practice is that when it comes to woman do the bathing. When it comes any to man does the bathing. وحيث تعذر غسله أو لم يحضر إلا أجنبي أو أجنبية يمم. But if there is nobody, no man, now the deceased is a woman, the deceased is a man, and there is no man, only woman who are ajnabi meaning no blood ties, woman any who are ajnabiyah, no man. So do we say that the woman any bathe any the man? No. Do tayammum. They will only any do yani tayammum. Tayammum yani to the deceased. It is not permissible any for woman that is ajnabiyah to perform the ghusl at all. Even any if there are nobody to do any the bathing. Khalas, we say if there are nobody to do the bathing, tayammum. So we do any tayammum on behalf any of the deceased, and tayammum any one tap any for the face, one tap any for the hands. One tap any for the face, one tap any for the hands. Naam. So this is what the author any mentioned, yummima. Likewise, any if a woman any pass away and there is no woman around, all men, ajnabi, then likewise any we do tayammum, and it is not any permissible any for us to do the bathing. Naam. Wallahu a'lam any bisawab. Any we will stop here. In next week, inshallah, yani we will next week, and we might not have class, but next lesson, inshallah, we continue with the shrouding. Is there any questions, from anyone?
For the wudu, how do we do the madmadah and istinshaq?
The madmadah
and the istinshaq.
Yeah, it has to be done. It has to be done in a way that water does not enter into the body. So what usually people will do is they will make the deceased sit down. So when they put the water inside in the mouth, it will go back again. Now, so taking a cloth after that and wash the mouth. Likewise, pertaining into the nose, we use this cloth and we wet the cloth and we put in the cloth into the nostrils, and we wash the internal part of the cloth. Now, because you see the thing is about putting any water, we have to be careful, because this can make the stomach bloat, because water will enter into the stomach and it can bloat. So usually that is the way. We make the disease what you call it in a sitting position. That is easier for us to do the putting the water in the mouth and to wash the mouth and nostrils. Is there any other questions? If there are no questions, inshallah, we will close our lesson. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Rabbana zalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzaban nar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin.